you are, not only a great tresero, but also you do something very particular, and is that you are one man band. So I want you to talk a little bit about what you do exactly with all the loops that you do, and can you explain that just a little bit about that?
Definitely. Uh, well, I record mainly all the instrument from the Cuban song format, the lively, and so with the looper station. Of course, before that, I have to control the sounds. The sounds technically has many. The way people listen to it is already EQ. It has a compression. It has many parametrics, many I would say things to adjust to make it sound right. So that's one part. Is the technology part. Then the musical part is to know each instrument. What's the function? What is the function of each instrument on the format itself? So because that's something else we're talking about. We're trying to layer deep in the layer of every instrument here. Because if you don't allow those laws of the Cuban song, it won't be a song.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do something on the harmony with the guitar when I'm looping, it won't sound right. It will be sound something else.
The first things that you do when your show, it's what is the first instrument that you
I record mainly. I
record.
record the percussion. It's a bass. Of
You start with the clave, you start with
I
the
start with the
bongo.
bongo. The bongo, it's something who lead the dancers. When you play the Cuban song, especially when you're looping, the bongo has a very stable pattern, and then on top of it, you can create
Yeah, you can
the song.
improvise and florear.
But so I have many questions about your setup.
Yep.
And kind of like tying up to what Hugo was saying. The decision to record first the bongo, is it because of the decision that comes from the tradition of the music, or because of the setup that you have?
No, it's something that I have
It's-
experiment, and
It's your style. So to
yeah,
say.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's a way to guide everything else to me, and if I also when you're looping, you need to have a reference, because you can easily go with the guitar louder than anything else, and that'll be the mix go away. It's like recording an album at a time. And then after it is in the looper, on this kind of looper, there's more. The technology is all the time changing, but in this looper, when it's recorded, that's it. If the guitar went up on it's louder than the bongo, for example. I mean, I don't like the mix because I like the rhythms, to feel. It's the way people feel the mix with the percussion, like you say, hey, like the campanas, right, right there on my face.
So you've been mentioning the looper multiple times, and would you mind maybe briefly mentioning what the looper is, maybe like the capacities that you have, and maybe mentioning all those hundreds of cables that you have there and what they do and how it works?
So, the looper is a RC300 from Boss. It's a looper station, and it has 3 channels. I can layer on those 3 channels infinite of layers itself, and this looper in particular allows me to record the percussion in one channel and then to record the song in the other, just the whole song. So you can record one pattern in one layer in one track, and then the other track you can play the song. So, and also you can control the output of it. It's very for the roots of the signal flow. It's very reliable, and so I have also the mixer. The mixer it's what comes first with the preamps, like I said, with the EQs, compressors, and then I got the mix before it goes to the looper.
And the iPad, you controlling that mix? The
Yeah,
mixer
I'm
from
controlling the mix from the iPad. As well, I have a controller here with my feet. In my experience, sometimes the Wi-Fi doesn't work, so you have something else to control.
Do you use? This is a very technical question. Do you use a router? You create like a network and you connect.
I used to,
everything?
not anymore. This one is a QSC Touch mix, and it has a good Wi-Fi
Great,
so
so it
far.
goes on okay.
Yeah.
How many layers of music can you stack with this looper?
I don't know the number, but they're for me are infinite. I never use the limit of it.
Also, just like you record one and then more and more, and you just
Exactly.
keep going.
The thing is with the Cuban music, you can go so crazy with the layers because it's so pure in a way. People want to listen to the bongos very clearly, to the guitars very
Yeah,
clear,
style, yeah.
and then the maracas and the claves. Those instruments are very loud, so to control all of those range are very difficult in a way. Then you have to mix it, but you cannot add too many. So like I cannot, I won't be adding two bongos layers, for example. It'll be too much. It's the same tone on top of it. That's a looping thing. It's everything is on top.
But so once you create a layer, the layer stays. You don't really transform that layer once it's there, right? It just keeps going and keeps going. Just stays
No,
there.
no,
Okay.
no.
And then in regards of that, how does that limitation that you have in your looper affect or maybe benefit your playing and your like and the way you perform and your the traditional background that you have?
Well, in a way, I can make sure that everything is clear. Like if I don't like it when I start a song, I make sure I do like the sound of the bongos, and if I don't like it, I erase it because that's the base of everything. And so everything it comes very clear, so you can listen to it very clear. And but in a way, it comes mechanic because everything it's playing the same. What I do is I play many bars. Like if the pattern has 2 bars, I play 4 or 8, so it has more of organic.
It's like an
on
implicit
it.
variation in each of them.
Exactly. So I've been trying to to make it more organic, but definitely it has some benefits on the clear because no one's making a mistake than me. But it mistakes also makes music organic.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The
Yeah,
part-
Definitely.
And you like, next to the bongos, you have some pads. Would you mind explaining to
Oh
us
yeah,
what they
yeah.
are?
So this is something also from Roland. This SPD1 percussion, and so what I did is because I have I'm also in charge of my productions. I have all the instrument that I record. Also, the musician record to me, for me, and I have a conga sample in here. So they do comes with their own sounds. They're good though. But I do have a conga insert, a conga that I like, the tone and the compression. So I have the congas here. Oh, this is something interesting from Santiago. Through the history, and then the congas came to the song also. And and then after that, like 10 years or 50 years ago, the music has been reducing everything because of things. So so people from in Cuba is not exception. So they have to reduce the format, and then they had a conguero and a bongocero. Now there are people who play both at the same time, which is what I'm doing here. So I'm trying to recreate this, and that's something from Santiago de Cuba. That set of congas and bongo, it's something coming from Santiago too. Yeah, check it out.
And I think we went through all your equipment. Yeah, we have the mixer, the looper.
And also I have a reference here. Reference is very important when you're looping. You have to to listen really clear what you're doing. Then you can accompaniment that.
Do you use a metronome?
No,
Never.
many people does. Many
Yeah,
musicians on the
yeah.
looping word use it.
Why don't you use it?
For the Cuban music, I won't do it.
You can't do it. Yeah.
It has their own flavor, and yeah. Some of my friends are, hey, how do you do it? And, I think I'll try to get. It's not perfect. Let me tell you, the looping is not perfect. That's why maybe with a metronome will be perfect. But like I said, I like that organic way it goes.
I was talking to a student and they were mentioning like kind of like surprised but your work, but at the same time they were like how does he do that? Like he's creating so many layers on top of each other, and each layer has to be basically perfect. It's gonna be repeated hundreds of times. If you made a mistake, then the mistake repeats hundreds
Yeah.
of times. So it is a challenge to play with. I've also used loops, and I mean I honestly I kind of gave up. Like this I cannot do it. It's too much work. But you do it in a very clean way. So how is that challenge, and how do you face that challenge of working with loops and repeating the loops, and like getting them right, on the spot, and just keep working and keep moving and building up. How do you practice that? How do you deal with
Well, it comes from the respect of the music first, and also the passion that I have for the production, for the music production. When you're a producer, you are looking at the music as a product of the whole thing. You know where the bass have to be, where the percussion has to be, where you want the chorus, when you want these effects. It's the same thing I'm doing in live. So, for example, when I got a mistake, I know probably I can hide it with the bass frequencies or the guitar frequencies, so it goes in the flow. Sometimes it's too bad that you cannot keep it.
just
Yeah.
have to redo the loop?
Yeah, you have to redo it. Let me tell you something. Sometimes when I'm really close to the audience and someone yell, "What?" It's there. Sometimes it's good for the music. Sometimes it's
It's
not.
not.
In a quiet section, you don't want the
Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed that you typically kind of like start the songs like building up layers. So you have one instrument, and then you add and you add and you add, and then towards the middle you have this like the full band already together. But for what I have heard, that's how traditional music works. You don't have a band on the stage. You tell, okay, let's start with the bongo zero, now conga, now bass. We use like 1, 2, 3, go, and then everybody's together. So you're in a way your practice it's adjusting the style of the music that you play. So how do you deal with that kind of like difference between what you can do and what you're supposed to do in a way?
So I'm not the first one doing it, and but I also have a reference that was successful. It calls RMM. Ralph Mercado was a big producer in New York,
Yeah.
and the first video that I saw in Cuba of Ralph Mercado shows was La Combinación Perfecta, the perfect combination.
Yeah,
They made a concert in Miami.
Is that what Mark Anthony was doing?
Yeah,
Was singing with
exactly,
La India.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I remember when it started with the percussion and the dancers, just the percussion.
Uh-huh.
I say, hey, I can do that. And then because it's also a way you showing people the way music it goes, But definitely, the traditional band, it won't do that every time. Like
well,
I have to do
once
it
or
every time.
twice, yeah.
They made that for a show, of course. But yeah, I hear you. It's challenging. It's challenging, especially when you have dancers. When you have people listening to you, you can do a solo before a riff, and they do appreciate it. But when you have dancers waiting for it, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I gotta work quick, and those loops gotta go straight.
Yeah, they're waiting. They're just
Yeah.
dancing.
Yeah,
on
they're
the-
just waiting for
on the
next
dancing
song.
floor.
Band,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
you know what I do love about that is that in a way you're kind of renewing the music. You're refreshing the style.
Renewing tradition. in a
Renewing
way.
tradition, because I mean, you to make it work, it has to be that way. Otherwise, I mean, how can you use everything? You cannot build it unless you bring pre-recorded tracks, which you mentioned that you don't do because you do everything live. So I love that the technology puts restrictions in what you do, but at the same time, those restrictions are useful to renew the music, and who knows what's going to come after. Maybe we'll be able to do everything at the same time, and maybe we won't. I don't know, there's limitations.
Have you ever think about expanding what you do? For example, adding brass to what you do, adding maybe a timbal. Have you think about become bigger in terms of the sound?
For myself,
Hugo,
you
what
mean?
do you give him ideas? He's getting a bit broken.
But it would be great. I don't know. Maybe change your idea of what you do, of course. But I don't know. Maybe.
Well, there's a I will have to, if I want to do it live, everything, because another thing is I could bring something recorded, and that'll be more easier. But keeping my idea of doing everything live, I would like add maybe another instrument very percussive that people start dancing with that instrument, like a piano or something like that.
Exactly, like a piano.
So yeah, definitely it comes to me, and but in a way, because like I said, I'm very passionate about the musical production. When I go to make an album, if you see my music, it's more than 4 bar or 8 bars. It has more music, and but the most I think in the future it's play with the band, probably more than adding more instrument, and also this allowed me to do this, to come to a college and explain layer by layer what is the music, Cuban music about, and I think keeping this format and also having a band should be great.
I mean, yeah, like you're talking here, three of us. We don't have like 5 guys just there sitting
Exactly.
like quiet, like
Yeah, it's great.
looking.
Also,
No, it's only us.
It's also some people when you do like every musician do private concert, even the biggest one.
Yeah.
So when you come to someone's house, they're ready to hire a few people more than 17 or 10.
Yeah,
you
in
know.
terms, yeah.
So, but yeah, I think no, the future of doing music, which I love to do more music than 8 bars, it's having more musicians to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what? I would like to hear a couple of your compositions, a couple of your songs. I know that a lot of people would like to dance with your music too.
Check it out.
So
Give it away.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.